Welcome back, everyone, to episode 10 of the It's Coming podcast. James Bouknight, the savior, he's back. Him and his putback slam propelled the Huskies to a 73-61 win over Providence. Then, going into Philly with a full head of steam, UConn just did not have enough to beat Villanova, losing to them for the fourth straight time.
But on today's podcast, we'll preview the final stretch with a special guest. It's episode 10 of the It's Coming podcast, and it starts right now.
Kemba Walker, step back, Walker, Cardiac Kemba! And the Huskies are the top dog in 2011. El Amin comes over and says, we shocked the world. Bounce, up ahead to Bouknight, to the rim, and a ball!
People better get us now. That's all. You better get us now, because it's coming.
Our special guest today on the podcast is Bill with the Way podcast. How's it going today?
It's going good. How are you guys doing?
We
Can't complain, I guess.
Yeah, can't complain. I mean, we had some technical difficulties getting going, but like I said, it must be something in the water that's making us a little dumber than usual today. But anyways, let's hear a little bit about yourself and the podcast that you run.
Yeah. For everybody listening, I'm Bill with the Way podcast, radio Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Just go to podcasttheway.com to find more information. I sit down with experts, interview them. I talked to Ken Lewis the other week. He's produced for Eminem, J. Cole, Ed Sheeran, all of those famous guys. So yeah, tune in to hear me interview experts.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, so you hit us up saying, hey, I heard you guys have a podcast about UConn men's basketball, and we love to have guests, especially fellow UConn students. So let's get right into it. I mean, UConn had 2 games this past week. They got 2 more this upcoming week, so we got a lot to cover. So Matt, take it away.
Yeah, so UConn against Providence, a complete all-around game, one of the better games they've played all season. Providence's only lead in the game was their first basket, which is, it's what you just love to see. Bouknight comes back, and my God, he's a joy to watch. The body control this kid has, the way he can attack the basket, the way he could take a hit, the angles he could attack the basket at is unreal. I mean, he was going above guys, around guys, under guys. It's really quite insane. You're watching something special every time you watch this kid take the floor. Also, he outscored Big East preseason first-team guard David Duke. He did it again. He's been doing it all year. The Huskies overall do a great job of keeping Duke quiet. He only had 11 points on 3 of 16 shooting.
Yeah, first game back was really nice. I mean, they just look like so much of a better basketball team with their best player back.
It's just such a good response too, because we lose to Providence by I want to say like 11, and it's just, what are they, like the 5th, 6th best team in the league in the Big East, and then we just come back with Bouknight, shut out the whole game. They scored some like last minute points, but I mean, we had the game.
Yeah, it was a blowout until garbage time, really. I think they ended up winning by
always happens.
like 12 or so, but it was like 18-20 most of the second half there.
Yeah, and other bright spots of the game, RJ Cole had some tough finishes well to the rim, draw some fouls. You also had, something that kind of got lost in this game was Tyrese Martin's ability to score. He was going for pound for pound with Bouknight, and he also had 7 rebounds. And with Whaley and Sanogo getting in foul trouble, Josh Carlton stepped up off the bench, put in 7 points over 10 minutes. Super impressive play was him lowering his shoulder into Nate Watson and backing him up. I honestly couldn't believe what I was watching.
Yeah, we hadn't seen Carlton in a few games, so to see him get some run and really be effective was a positive. But something that stood out to me was the runs that UConn went on. They went on 3 significant runs. One was 11-zip, one was 14-2, and one was 12-4. And when you go on runs that combined for 31 points or so, I think my math's right there, that really helps build a comfortable lead, and it just is demoralizing for the opponent. And Bill, like you said, it's just nice to get a little redemption on Providence after the beatdown that UConn had the week before. I mean, Providence is not a very good team, and I think in a couple of years UConn's going to run this rivalry, but for the time being, we'll savor a 1-1 split on the year. Then UConn went down to Philadelphia with some momentum, two wins in a row. But that Nova game, it was frustrating. What were some of your takeaways from there?
Yeah, first I'm going to say like the Providence, I said like 5th, 6th in the Big East. No, they're like 8th. I mean, in the AAC, then they're like probably 2 or 3. We don't talk about that. And the Villanova, I mean, again, before the season even started, over the summer, I saw they were projected to be like the number 1 team in the league. That got stolen by Gonzaga, Baylor. They've lost a few, but they're still this dominant team. And yet we held our own. Our defense is one great part of this team, and you could see it the way, I mean, they had, I want to say like a 19% 3-point shooting at halftime or something. So they were a little bit off. But I say that contributes with our defense and us getting lucky with a few missed threes. But we just had the opportunity to take it that whole game. And it just sucks to see us in that second half just get cold.
Yeah, actually, that's something I want to make a note about the game. Like you said, Nova shot the ball super poorly from behind the 3-point line. They shot 22.7%, which was their worst effort of the season. So, like you said, the game was there for UConn to take, and they could never take advantage. And it just really sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kept saying during the game, like, oh, they're going to hit this three. They're going to hit this three. And then finally, late in the game, Colin Gillespie hits the 2 dagger threes. And it's like, yep, there you go. Like, you're not just going to keep letting Villanova get chances at wide open threes, and they're not just going to keep missing. So, I mean, the game was right there for the taking. Do you guys think that if they met again in the Big East in the Big East tournament, that UConn could pull the upset and beat Villanova?
I mean, definitely. Even like that first Creighton game, it was the same thing where their offense was off because of our defense, I like to say. And we just couldn't pull through with that one. So this was that same thing. And if we meet Villanova in the Big East, I mean, again, they're a great team. They're one of the best in the league, best in the Big East. But we have the potential with a healthy lineup. A Cook, I don't know if he'll come back for good this year, but with a strong, healthy lineup, we're easily like, I'd give us 15 in the league. Maybe biased, but I think that's a fair statement to make.
Yeah, and that was a point of the game with James Bouknight was carrying the load for that first half, and then he has a situation, he takes a hard fall, and then he was essentially ineffective for the rest of the game. So here's what head coach Dan Hurley had to say about that after the game.
Yeah, he got a little nicked up, but he they're pretty physical with him. He's a hard playing guy. He just bruised up, banged up. I think more of his just, issue today was, fatigue, conditioning, and then as he got tired, just, probably tried to do a little bit too much.
And, it was kind of just odd to me because he was clearly fatigued and he's losing it, like Hurley said. So to me, it was kind of weird because it's like, it's an odd situation because you could turn to the bench and put in some fresh legs, like Brennan Adams hasn't seen a game in a minute, or you hope that eventually Bouknight can pull it together and hit 1 or 2 timely shots. But, it just wasn't coming together. Bill, like you said, I think if they got the chance to play them again, I think they would strangle them, and James Bouknight will be fully ready, no fatigue, and they win that game.
Yeah, I mean, on the flip side, though, Villanova, they ended the game shooting about 22% from 3. It's one of the better 3-point shooting teams in the country. They really space you out on offense.
Best in the Big East.
So, yeah, UConn's defense is great, but you play them again and you don't necessarily know, whether or not Villanova is going to keep missing that many threes. I said before the game that I thought having no crowd at Villanova would really be beneficial to UConn. And I actually think that it hurt UConn not having a crowd there. Nova couldn't get their shots to fall. That crowd would have been antsy. They would have been frustrated. Most importantly, they would have been quiet. And there's nothing better as a road team than hitting a big shot and hearing the silence fall over the crowd, the hush, the angst. And I think UConn would have been able to feed off of that, actually, as they did last year when they went into Wells Fargo and were leading for the majority of that second half. Instead, no crowd, no energy. Just shots were missing left and right. Fouls were racking up for both teams, and UConn looked flat. And the body language for the last 10 to 12 minutes was, it was deflating. And Bouknight talked about it after the game. He said, he holds himself to a high standard, and he was disappointed in his own body language. And I thought that was an accurate assessment because as the leader of the team, the alpha, a lot of the responsibility fell on him. And I think that there was a chance for him to really take over in that second half when the game was hanging in the balance.
Yeah, and I know it was mentioned a second ago. You mentioned that when Bouknight fell on his arm, you see it's the arm he got surgery on, and right after that point, that 6 for 7 streak sort of, he can't take it to the hoop anymore because he needs to
Yeah.
take it easy.
His handle was definitely affected. I know Noam pointed out to me a few times throughout the game. He was like, dude, he's losing the ball. Like he couldn't hit a crossover. Like you said, like without a crossover, you're just completely going to lose your ability to be able to take it to the hoop. And he ended up finishing the game with half the team's turnovers with 5. So
yeah, he hit, like you said, 6 of his first 7. And I think Fox showed a graphic where it was like started 6 or 7. Since then, 0 for 8. And I was like, whoa, not great. So last thing for me for this Nova game is I thought UConn really had a chance for a big game inside, but Sonogo, Whaley, and Cook just couldn't get it going. They only combined for 10 points. 8 of those were from Sonogo. And I really thought UConn should have been able to just work on the glass. Much bigger team, much better offensive rebounding team. They ended up losing the rebounding battle 28-26. And part of that was because they shot 36% on offense. Each team only had 10 offensive rebounds. I really didn't think UConn played to their strength and getting shots off the board and getting second chance opportunities. So I think that late game rebounding has been a little weak lately. I'm a little worried that Hurley might have them working a little hard in practice. Matt doesn't necessarily agree with this take, but I think that they're too fatigued at the end of games and they just don't have the energy to lock down the fundamentals and find a guy, box him out, and grab the rebound in late game scenarios. And that's been killer lately.
Yeah, I remember seeing a Polly. This was like a few weeks ago. He puts on his Instagram. He's got a black eye, and it's like coach is having us work hard. So everyone's all excited for his next game. Like, oh, let's see what happens. And I forgot who that was. I want to say that was the Providence game they lost after that. I forget, but
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, it was. Okay. And the big men, yeah, like I didn't even really think about it. Like they really didn't step up the same they used to. Gaffney, he went off for like a good 2 minutes there. I wanted to see him do more, and then he just never took another shot. I want to say like the rest of the game.
yeah, I think Gaffney is a player that Noam and I as well it's frustrating to see because like you said, like he shows it in flashes. Like the guy's got the potential to be a perennial scorer. Like he can take it to the hoop as good as anyone, and he just doesn't. Like,
yeah, that's been one of the biggest tough things about this season is there's been no consistency, and obviously part of it is the multiple COVID shutdowns. But I mean, you look at any one player, and nobody's really been consistent all year long besides James Bouknight. Yeah. So that actually leads us right to our next segment, our first segment of this week, which is let's talk about our MVP of the week. And chances are, I think we're going to agree on this one. But who do you have, Bill?
Oh yeah, obviously. Wait, who? Oh yeah, RJ Cole, obviously. no, Bouknight. Freaking like, man, go like MVP of almost Big East if he had more games. Like, he's Bouknight. He's top 10 pick of this year. If I said anyone else, that'd just be a bad hot take.
Yeah, even with the turnovers in the second game, I mean, like when he was healthy and he wasn't dinged up, I mean, he's everything for this team. He makes this team the top 25, dare I say, top 20 team that they can be, and he's a guy that when he's right could win them a few games come March.
Yeah, and I mean he really carried them in the first half against Villanova too. I mean, we saw in the second half when he was fatigued and the offense couldn't get anything going. I mean, when you think about most valuable player, the team against Villanova would have been nothing without him. Just nobody was effective on offense. So, yeah, RJ Cole, sorry, not your week this week. Probably won't be your week at any point this season because when you're playing with an alpha, but when you're playing with an alpha like James Bouknight, there's only one MVP.
The guy can swing it from 3, so we'll see about that.
It's true. RJ Cole can be dynamite from deep. Moving on to our next segment, let's hear the play of the week.
I'll go first. For me, it's not actually a play. It's Isaiah Willie hitting the deck for some push-ups. It's not a play, but I wish we could have been there because that's just one of those things that the crowd is either going to start cheering or the crowd's going to start laughing. And I would have loved to be there for that. So
I gotta say first, I'm a little paranoid. So when I see him go down, I'm like, oh no, is he injured? Then I see him doing push-ups. I'm like, oh, thank God. Okay. Yeah. Still got a year. And for my play of the week, it happened twice, but one time I want to say it was smoother. But Bouknight's cutting, like taking a layup on the left side, goes into traffic, and he shoots the layup with his right hand. And just going through traffic, like I play pickup with friends here and there. Less now that we got COVID, but that's a real hard shot that people don't think about. It's just like such a simple shot the way he makes it look. he's just so smooth with it, but that's a hard shot to make.
Yeah, his body control, like Matt
It's
talks about in the
insane.
open, it's ridiculous. My player of the week, I'm surprised neither of you said it, is that book night putback jam. I mean, that was sweet. Came running from the 3-point line, elevated. It was like his first play back in the Providence game after the missing, month and a half with the elbow injury. And I'm like, holy shit, did he really just do that? Like, wow. So a little bit of Book Knight's athleticism going to work there. Moving on to our under the radar segment of the week. Matt, we'll start with you again this time.
Yeah, for me, it's that Brendan Adams did not play again, which is kind of crazy considering, how much Hurley loves him and, he's his first recruit to bring here and all that. However, Dan Hurley spoke about Brendan pregame for this Georgetown game and said, quote, he might find himself an opportunity. He's got to be ready to contribute, end quote. I would really like to see, honestly, I'd like to see Brendan get a chance and, a few games off, see what he's capable of.
Yeah, I have been a big critic of Brennan Adams in his 3 years at UConn. He had some really good flashes last season, but the offense has been struggling. They've been very up and down lately, and he can be an offensive punch when he goes to the basket and when he finds himself open shots. So I also would like to see a little bit of him, which is surprising to hear from me. My under the radar is that the rest of the league is really doing all they can to get UConn into the top 4 or 5 of the league. Top 5 teams get a first round bye in the conference tournament. You look at the teams right around UConn. St. John's lost a game to DePaul, who is just absolutely atrocious. Xavier right before that lost to St. John's, and Seton Hall lost to Georgetown. And Georgetown, I don't want to say they're a bad team because they might very well beat UConn tonight, but those teams, those are all winnable games for them. They're all hovering right around UConn. So right now, UConn sits at number 5 in the conference with a really solid chance to finish in the top 4.
Yeah, and for me, the under the radar, I've been saying it since like halfway in the year, but Gaffney is just, if he had the way RJ Cole takes it to the hoop, or even Tyrese Martin, or even Book Knight, if he had that mindset, if he wanted to actually take it to the hoop and do something, he could be a great like starter player. He'll make the point when he has to, but then he'll just pass it along. And I want to see him get more aggressive and more confident with the ball.
Yeah, I think it's that killer instinct is what he missing. And I think Hurley's talked about it a lot with how he's just got to get it,
I think Gaffney is one of the more frustrating instances because he never does anything wrong. Like, he never turns the ball over. He doesn't hog the ball. It's just like he needs to go to the basket more. He almost always finishes around the rim, off balance, through contact. It's like, dude, you're good at basketball. Please shoot the ball more,
Oh, definitely.
All right, so now we're going to move on to get him next time. So for me, that is going to be the pair of senior bigs, which are Isaiah Whaley and Tyler Polley. 5 combined points in 46 combined minutes against Villanova. That's not going to cut it when you're a senior and one of you is a starter and you're supposed to be playing against the best team in your conference. Whaley in particular took some really, really poor shots. I think he might have had 2 air balls. I hope it wasn't more than that. It was definitely at least 1. And down the stretch, they're going to have to be key players. So especially Isaiah Whaley, uncharacteristic performance. So we're going to need more from both of them.
I'm actually going to double down on Isaiah Whaley. I think the Huskies really need his energy and toughness down the stretch. He's had a couple of big block games lately, but he's got to be more of a factor on offense. He scored 2 points against Villanova. This is a guy who was averaging 12 to 14 at the end of last season when UConn went on their 5-game win streak to close the season. They need his energy. That's what he is. He's a glue guy. They got to go to him more. He's got to provide more. And I really think he's going to be a big factor down the stretch. I don't think he's going to go out quietly to end his UConn career.
Bill, would you like to triple down or would you like to take it somewhere else?
Well, what is that?
Oh, just because no one doubled down on me for taking Whaley. So would you like to triple down on him or would you like to take it somewhere else?
No, I'm going to take it somewhere else. I'm going to say a little bit with Tyrese Martin. He could be a great player, and he's been a great player, but that game, he didn't step up the same he should or usually does. I want to see him play aggressive, take more layups, and I want to see RJ Cole get at least like 10 or 12 points. So I'd say mainly Tyrese Martin, RJ Cole, they need to step up a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been saying that.
Take the pressure off
all year. Yeah, besides the games where they do score, we've kind of been saying that all year. Anyways, we're going to move into the next week of games when this episode is released. UConn will be taking on the Georgetown Hoyas tonight. Georgetown is a really good rebounding team, so it's a game that honestly can be won and lost on the glass. Curtis Wahab and Jamarco Pickett are the big guys scoring and rebounding down low for Patrick Ewing's team. Both are just under 2 rebounds shy of averaging double-doubles. They come in at second and third in rebounding for the entire Big East, behind only Zach Fremantle for Xavier. Georgetown's also surprisingly to me, a good three-point shooting team led by senior guard Javon Blair, who carries the scoring load for the Hoyas, leads the conference in threes made per game, tied with Mitch Ballack, Creighton.
Georgetown's also kind of hot right now. This is a team that was really pretty bad at the start of the season, but they just beat Butler and Seton Hall. In that Seton Hall game, that's a big win because Seton Hall's vying for their tournament lives right now. UConn fan base might think of Georgetown as a cupcake this year, but they're not a cupcake whatsoever. The Big East has shown this year that there is no such thing as the easy game. We just saw DePaul knock off St. John. So I'm honestly a little worried. I think this is a game UConn really should go out and win. They really need to go out and win it. It's actually a quadrant 2 opportunity, which if they pick up will be good for their resume because they, quite frankly, don't have that many resume boosting wins right now.
Yeah. And, like you said, there's cause for concern, but ultimately what this is going to come down to is this team has been nails against locking down the other team's starting point guards or just scoring guards all year. So as long as they can do what they've always done, and then really the only issue that I see is going to be how well they can handle the big guys down low, UConn can come away with a victory.
Switching gears over to Marquette, and then after we do a little Marquette preview, we'll get back to you, Bill. They've only won twice in their last 8 games. Both those victories came against Butler. The first matchup, UConn-Marquette, was the game UConn went down by 18, and then Tyler Pauly just caught fire. He was just draining everything in sight. Pretty infamous game for him. When he graduates, that's going to be what he's remembered for. It's a game they have to win. They're going to be at home. Marquette is really, really not a strong team. Dawson Garcia's good. He's a good freshman. But when you got post defenders like Isaiah Whaley, Adamas Sanogo, and Cook, you should be able to lock him down and hold him.
Yeah, and it's going to be UConn's trio of big guys versus Dawson Garcia, Jamal Cain, and Theo John, the trio for Marquette. And again, Georgetown and Marquette are sitting at the bottom of the league for turnover margins. So this is a great chance for this team to play a little quicker, play in transition, especially with Andre Jackson. The idea of him possibly starting. This is a big opportunity for him to throw down some massive dunks for me.
And I say Gaffney before, but Andre Jackson, he's another one of those players that I want to see do more than catch and pass. I want to see him play like he can play.
Yeah, I've talked about that a lot. Towards the beginning of the year, he's he had the freshman what do we
jitters?
Yeah, freshman jitters, right? Yeah, like he catches the ball and immediately throws it away. But he's been developing, and this is a great opportunity, these 2 games, for him to possibly throw down a transition dunk.
It's kind of like hot potato sometimes with him and Gaffney. It's like they catch the ball out to the 3-point line, and it's like a race against time to get the ball out of their hands. So yeah, there's a lot of guys on this team who I would like to see take it to the rim more. And Jalen Gaffney and Andre Jackson are 2 of those guys. I think they can finish through anybody. They have the athleticism to dunk over anybody too. We saw it during high school. They had clips and montages nonstop of them just throwing down crazy dunks. Like, where is that? Let's see it. Let's run. Let's get in transition a little bit. Let's not get into half-court offense sets that are not working lately.
Yeah, and before we throw it to our last segment, which is the Hurley Juice moment of the week, Bill, closing question for you. This team has 4 games left. How much do you like the idea that they can win all 4?
They should. Who are they playing? Georgetown, Marquette, Seton Hall, Georgetown again. Yep. Georgetown, they beat Villanova, so it's the Big East. You said it yourself, no easy wins. But we should beat Georgetown. We should beat Marquette again. Marquette's good. Even like the Big East, they have the second best win percentage out of conference. So that's why I feel like we get overlooked with the Big 12. Big 10, I get that. But so yeah, we should beat Marquette like we did last time. We should beat Seton Hall. We lost to them. Booknight was out that game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he's back. We should go 4-0, but knowing UConn, we could easily go like 1-3. It's every game's a heart attack.
right? It's
So-
killing me, dude. It's like last game, every game was a heart attack, but at the end of the season, we learned how to win those games. It's like that game against Cincinnati where I think it was Jaron Cumberland had a shot to win the game and Christian Vitalik defended him straight up. It's like, holy shit, we really just won this game. This happened. And then you build off that and you play Houston on senior night, who's ranked 21st in the country. And it's like, oh, they're creeping back at the end of the game. But CV is no way in hell going to let them come in on his senior night and win. And it was like heart attack after heart attack after heart attack, but they were winning. So this year, I'm hoping that if we're going to get a few more heart attack games, which we've already had plenty of, hopefully they're going to turn into some dubs.
Yep. And I know, like, I remember hearing, I think Whaley and like our senior class, because of COVID, they get an extra year. I think I remember hearing that. And if that's the case, why couldn't that happen last year when we had Fatal? And imagine book night, Fatal, top of the key, no hot potato between the players. Literally just, hey, you want this one? No, I'll take it. I got this one. Okay, step back 3.
Yeah,
Bro,
it's funny because I've said this to Noam multiple times this season. I'm like, man, I miss CV so bad. Watching the team, especially that book night, I'm like, oh man, like you just need this guy so bad right now.
His confidence too, it was just unmatchable. It was like you said, you want this shot? It's like every time he would say yes. Doesn't matter where on the court he is, he would just pull it. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, CV was a winner and he deserved to go out better than he did.
Yeah.
I always think it's funny when he was like, yeah, we were going to go to Texas and win that American Conference Championship. It's like, okay, CV, like tap the brakes a little. You probably weren't, but I love where your confidence is at. It's tough. This would have been a great year to have him on board.
They finished strong, so it's possible. I mean,
Yeah. I like to think they would have. So I'm just going to go with that. They were the hottest team going in.
All right. Any
Exactly.
final thoughts from you?
Just as like the team overall, Polly, I want to see him for a game, no threes. You can only take a mid-range or take a layup, because every time he's off the ball, they're on the 3-point line, and every time he catches the ball, he's like 10 feet back, and they're literally like, you can run by me if you want, but you're not going to. So then he just passes it up, and he spreads out the floor, so that's why I get why he's on the court, but I just want to see him step up a little bit more. Tyrese Martin, I think, is a beast. Just early on, every single one of his layups, the ball just rolls off the rim. He's that player who takes a layup and he's like, how did that not go in? Like, he's just that bad luck where it just misses. And once he just gets those lucky rolls, or once he just gets a tad bit softer on the touch, he could just be like book night's second man, easy, help cook the team. RJ Cole, I like the way he plays. I don't like him shooting as much as he does sometimes, but he's a good player. I like where his brain's at. Gaffney, we said that before, and just the rest of the team. Whaley's great. I just want to see this team perform the way they can, because their lineup is stacked. They have the potential. I'm sick of this team having potential.
Yeah, that's such a great way to close this out. I mean, they have so many guys who can do so much and who are so good with their skill sets. Like, let's see them put it together. Like, this is the final stretch. It's time. They're loaded up. They're healthy. Let's put it to work and let's go win some basketball games, head into the Big East tournament on a high, and maybe make some noise in March. So, Bill, thanks for joining us. Thanks for partnering with us, The Way Podcast. Great to have it. Partner with It's Coming Podcast. Hope to talk to you again soon. Maybe we'll get you on for an episode around postseason time. But for now, we'll send it to our Hurley Juice moment of the week.
Practices. So we'll be better by the time the Big East tournament rolls around, and hopefully we get a chance to play them again.
Thanks, everybody, for sticking with us to the end. UConn at Georgetown tonight at 9 p.m. Then they'll play Marquette on Saturday. For Bill and the Way Podcast, as well as my co-host Matt Gepfert, I'm Noah Mott. We'll see you, or you'll hear us next time. Go Huskies.